Welcome to the Better Online Lessons Podcast, the purpose of which is to help teachers and students come together to share information, ideas, experiences, in hopes that we can all have better online lessons. My name's Chris. I'm a drummer, teacher, audio engineer, and I want to share some of my experiences that I've come across so far while teaching online. So it's from the perspective of my own experiences, so private music lessons. But some of this stuff might apply to any teacher online. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. There have been a few episodes so far. Episode 1, I talked about a lot of the technical issues, camera placement, lighting, stuff like that, things that I've come across. Episode 2, I featured drummer and educator Larry Rodbell and his experiences teaching online. He started many years before I did, which was kind of cool because most of us just started with, the current situation. But he's been doing it for a while. So he had a lot of unique insight. Episode 3, my wife, Nikki Johnson, and her experience as a violin teacher online. And so I will post a link to that playlist in the description. It's not there yet. I forgot to do that. But I will post that later. So check back if you'd like to see those videos as well. In today's episode, I'm just going to be talking about a lot of the more, a lot of the Zoom specific features and settings. If you're in the chat, how's it going? Jeff, good to see you, buddy. If you have any thoughts, ideas, please pop in the chat. Let me know. Any settings, any features that you use a lot in Zoom. So let's go ahead and get right into it. I want to start off with one of my own personal favorite things, which, regardless of what program you're using, I'm a big fan of keyboard shortcuts, aka hotkeys. All right, keyboard combinations that allow you to work through programs quicker. Scrolling through less menus, having to click on less things with the mouse. Okay, all that stuff takes a little bit of time, and when you add it up through the course of a class or a lesson, it ain't nothing. All right, so I like to move as quick as I can through these programs. Now, when you look at the list of keyboard shortcuts on the Zoom website, it's pretty long. There's a shortcut for everything you could think of. All right, so it can be a bit intimidating at first, but it's really simple, guys. Just pick one at a time that you like, commit it to memory. All right, it's just like when you learn a new word and you can't wait to use it in every conversation and probably overuse it. It's the same with those settings. So, learn one. Like my favorite one that I started out with, guys, in Zoom is Alt-A. All right, that allows me to mute my microphone very quickly. So you learn one hotkey at a time, Alt-A, let's say. And then you find every opportunity during that next class or meeting or week of classes and meetings to use that. And the more you do it, the more automatic it becomes, just like anything. So without even thinking, Alt-A to mute your mic, Someone in the other room of your house starts yelling profanities, boom, Alt-A, you're on it so fast. So another similar one to that is Alt-V. In fact, let's take a look at the list, which is right on Zoom's website. All you got to do is Google Zoom keyboard shortcuts or Zoom hotkeys. And there's plenty. So I have pulled up all the Windows hotkeys because I'm a Windows user myself. I'm on Windows right now. If you use Mac, then they're on here as well. They're similar, a little different. So I'm just going to go through and pick a few of my favorites. There's a lot of them, some that you guys might use that I don't use and vice versa. Okay, Alt-V, that's a great one. Start and stop video. Touch of a button, Alt-V. Alt-M will mute or unmute audio for everyone except the host. So if you teach a group class, if you have a lot of students in one class, that's probably very useful. You can mute everyone at once. Alt-M. Alt-S, very useful for screen sharing. Super quick. I do a lot of screen sharing, so that one's very helpful. And then there's more that go along with that. Alt-Shift-S for starting and stopping a new screen share versus an existing one. Alt-T for pausing or resuming the screen share. And some of those we'll get into a little more later when we talk about screen sharing today. Alt-R to start and stop local recording. I love that one. Sometimes I just want to record a clip when I'm in the middle of a lesson and I'm making a good point, or if the student does something really awesome and I just want to capture that. So Alt-R, without even thinking about it, bam, there it is, recording. And you can go through your recording settings and tell it exactly where you want it to record, what type of video file, all that stuff. And we'll get to those settings later. Alt-C for starting and stopping cloud recording. You do need the Zoom Premium or whatever the basic paid package is to do cloud recording. And then Alt-P to pause or resume recording. Alt-N is useful if you have multiple cameras. You can actually switch your cameras right from within Zoom. And a lot of you know that if you go down to the camera icon and click on the menu and select the camera that you like, but you can also use Alt-N just to cycle through your cameras. That can be very useful. All right, what else we got? A whole bunch of stuff. Alt-U shows or hides the participants panel that can be useful. Alt-Y, okay, raising or lower your hand. There's like a little emote or thing that you can show on your screen if you raise your hand, like as a student. So Alt-Y is super useful for that if you want to be very quick with that hand raise. Like, I did a group drum class, and which was a lot of fun, by the way. It was my first class online with multiple participants, so I was really nervous. I was like, I don't know how these school teachers do it with full classrooms of kids on Zoom, but it ended up going great. It was a lot of fun, and we played a game where I would play a drum groove, and they would guess what the song was as soon as they can. So Alt-Y was super useful for that. They could be really quick and try to be the first one to guess that song. Okay, onward. Remote control. I actually don't know what the remote control feature is for Zoom. So anyway, again, just skipping through some of the ones that I use more often. There's a ton of chat hotkeys. I don't really use the chat that much, but some of you guys use the chat a lot. So take a look at some of these hotkeys. They're super useful. And then for phone dialing in, which I also don't do. So those are some of my favorite hotkeys. See if there's any I missed. I think that's pretty much got it covered. Okay, so the next thing I'd like to talk about is actually the sharing feature in Zoom. Very useful for sharing anything, PDFs, documents, video. Basically, you can share any window on your computer or the entire display itself. And so I'll show you how to do that. Let me start up a new meeting real quick here in Zoom. All right. It's taking a little while to connect. I'm using the Wi-Fi right now. Y'all already know how I feel about having that Ethernet cable. If you can have an Ethernet cable plugged in, I'm telling you, lightning quick. You'll be having conversations with your students so fast. Wi-Fi, it'll take a few seconds. Okay, so we're talking about sharing. Remember, Alt-S is the hotkey, so boom, with just a keystroke, I'm already there. The first one to come up is sharing your screen. That's literally sharing everything that is on the screen. So if it's Zoom, if it's your desktop, oh, there's my son. Whatever's on your screen will be shared. So you got to be careful with that one. If you have any sensitive information on your screen, be careful with sharing that. All right, so now I'm going to go up here and click Stop Share. You notice how the meeting controls disappear when you move away from them, and all you see is the little green and red buttons. Hover the mouse. There they are. There's even a way to hide these green and red ones when you're not using them, and that's in the settings. We'll go through settings later. So I'm going to stop share for now. So again, that's how you do it, Alt-S. And in fact, I could have done that instead of hitting stop share with the mouse. I could have just clicked Alt-S and it would have automatically stopped. So telling you, hotkeys are awesome. Okay, let's take a look at another way to share. So that's if you want to share the entire display, whatever's on your computer screen, your student will see. If you want to share a particular window, this is the preferred way to do it. I mean, the only time you really want to share an entire display is if you're moving back and forth through a lot of different windows and they kind of need to follow you through that. But if you're just going to be using one app at a time, go ahead and share it this way. So I'm going to share Chrome in this case. And boom, you can see that my own window goes into my own camera, the webcam actually goes into a tiny little box that they can always see, which I find super helpful as well. But the large screen is actually the Chrome browser. Whoever's sharing in the meeting will take the speaker view. Even if you're in gallery view, I think by default it switches over to speaker view. And we'll talk about gallery view versus speaker view in just a minute. As a host, you are able to share. Your participants are not unless you allow them permission to share something. And you can do that from within the schedule, the meeting schedule as well. So when you go to actually schedule a meeting, you can determine whether your participants are allowed to share, whether they're allowed to record, do other things by default. And if not, you can do that from within the meeting itself. It's very easy. You bring up your participants list and you can give them permissions. I'm jumping around here a bit. Let me try to stay on track. So anyway, that's screen sharing. You can share YouTube videos, although it's a bit choppy in my experience. There is a better way to do it using OBS, but OBS is a whole other topic for another episode of the podcast. So today it's just Zoom settings. All right, so there's screen sharing. What else can we do from the share screen menu? Here you go. Multiple participants can share simultaneously. I've never used that, but you might find yourself in that situation. Advanced sharing options. We will go through those a little bit later. Well, let's just take a look. Yeah, okay, there you go. All participants, only host can share. Here's exactly all the options I was telling you about. So you can set those as you need. and that's screen sharing. Very useful right within Zoom. Okay, along with screen sharing is annotating. So if I come down to the bottom here, well, that's embarrassing. Where's my annotations? All right, I haven't done my homework, apparently. I don't actually use annotations all that much, or ever. But you can do it, and you can use a whiteboard. You can draw right on the screen. Let me think. I think you actually have to share the screen. Then you can do annotations. Let me see if that's correct. Yep, there you go. So once you're in the screen share, then you can annotate. And that could be drawing on the screen. That could be writing some text on the screen. You can clear all that. You can undo, redo. You can allow all the participants to also annotate on the screen, which can be very useful. Eraser. Basically, yeah, the whole screen turns into your own drawing pad. And then you can select things. What does that look like? Okay, so if I wanted to highlight something, mouse just shows the mouse. All right, so there's annotations. And you can save these right to a PDF or a PNG file, which is pretty cool. Again, I don't use annotations, but I'm sure a lot of you guys would find that very useful. Okay. Chat. All right, this is another big feature in Zoom that I don't use. But again, a lot of you guys, I'm sure, can find some great creative ways to use chat, especially when there's a large group of students. You can drop links in there. You can, okay, that's really just the only one that comes to mind. You can leave resources for students to get later, all right, in the chat. So that's pretty useful. Let me just show you what that looks like. And then I know from videos that I've seen that you can chat to the entire group. You can chat to specific people. You can chat with the host only. So a lot of options there. You can address just a particular person. If I were to actually be in a meeting right now and you'd see all the other people, then when I click this menu here, you would see everyone's personal name. So very, very powerful chat feature. You can leave files in there, okay? So you can drop PDFs and documents and stuff. So that's very useful. I just don't use it myself. I use Google Drive and stuff for that, so. Okay. Guys, let me know in the chat and in the comments what features do you absolutely love, which ones do you not use, which ones can't you live without. And if you're watching this later, if you're not watching it live, just let me know in the comments. I'm very curious to see how other people are using Zoom. Briefly, I mentioned gallery view versus speaker view. And I'm the only person in here right now, so I can't exactly show you. But speaker view is where the only person you see on screen is the person who's currently talking. So if you find yourself in a situation where people are on speaker view and you're not talking, maybe mute your mic so that way you don't pop up every time you laugh or whatever. So that's speaker view. I generally prefer gallery view where you can see yourself side by side with the student or with whoever else, all the other participants. And if you're on a PC, I think it's or Mac, I think it's up to like 49 individual screens can be shown in gallery view. It's really cool. On mobile devices, you're going to be a bit more limited as to how many people you can see at once. In fact, on my Android, I no longer have gallery view at all, period. Used to just swipe. And some people tell me they do have it on Android and on iPhone. So I don't know. Maybe my phone's just an older model and it doesn't support gallery view anymore, but that's okay. I prefer running on a PC or a Mac. Anyway, y'all already know that. Nikki says she uses Alt-A for mute, Alt-Q. Right. Oh, that's one of my favorites. Alt-Q for quit. Thank you. Yeah, I forgot about that one. And screen share. Yeah, definitely. Alt-Q if you don't want to have to go down to the end button. Where are we? And then move your mouse up here. You could simply hit Alt-Q and then tab to the first option and then enter. Seems like a lot, and I thought it was at first, but really it's pretty quick. All I got to do is Alt-Q, tab, enter, and I'm out of the meeting. All right. So I get used to those hotkeys. They happen so fast now I don't even think about them. So highly recommend check out Hotkeys. Okay, we talked about gallery view versus speaker view. Virtual backgrounds. Okay, I just quickly want to talk about virtual backgrounds. You guys probably already know about this, but if you didn't, Zoom has a green screen function built right in, and you don't even need a green screen. Let me go back into a meeting here. Give it a second to load. And I don't really find myself using gallery view unless I'm hanging out with friends or something. Like I was at a bachelor party and we all set our gallery view to the same room, so it looked like we were hanging out together. That was a lot of fun. Or I did a family meeting and I got my mom to take a picture of her living room, and then we all pretend like we're in the same room. So that was cool. But other times you might use that. Let's see, if you go here, click on the menu next to the camera, choose virtual background. And if you don't already have this installed, you might need to install the particular plugin. But for a lot of you, I think it might already be installed. And you simply select different virtual backgrounds. It's pretty cool. It's not perfect. You can see it's a little splotchy. Sometimes it doesn't get it right. But it's a really cool feature built right in. So, if you're a student and your room's kind of a mess, you can just throw on a virtual background. You could take a picture of your room when it's clean and use that as your virtual background, and it looks like you're just in your clean room, but really it's a dirty room behind you. So as a teacher, you're probably just going to want to have a clean space and whatever, so you probably won't use virtual background that much. But anyway, it's a neat little feature. I at least wanted to touch on it today. Here's an option. If you do have a green screen, you can use that, which is pretty sweet, built right into Zoom. Mirror video, if you need to flip the video as you're looking at it. And then there are studio effects here, which, I don't know, it's kind of cheesy. But I guess it's fun, depending on the situation. You can add eyebrows and beards and change your lip color and all sorts of stuff. So, yeah, I don't really use that, but it's there. Video filters. You could put some basic color grading type filters. Borders, overlays, stuff like that. But anyway, I guess that's really situational. And if you want to turn off the virtual backgrounds, you click on none, and there you go. And now we're back. All right, guys, let's dive into settings. Woo! This is a big one. It can be a bit intimidating, all right? When you go through the settings menu, and first, let me show you how to get there, all right? So if you're on the desktop client, you go from the home screen. You're going to go into the setting. Oops, what am I doing here? Here we are. From the home tab, you're going to go to your settings icon here. And boom, there's all of our settings. And if you just flip through, you're going to see that there are quite a lot of different settings. Don't be intimidated by it. All right, guys? Big thing here, fear of the unknown. All right, it's real. When you see that many settings, it's overwhelming. You're like, oh my God. All right. But it's not really that crazy. There's just a setting for every little thing that you can think of, all right? But once you go through and you start looking at some of this stuff, the fear of the unknown goes away. You inform yourself. You see, oh, there's a setting for that. That makes sense. Oh, here's a setting for this thing. That's not useful to me, so I won't even need to mess with it. You'll probably find that you won't need to mess with most of these settings. So I'm actually just going to go through a lot of the settings very quickly and show you some of the ones that I found useful. And I'm also curious to see which ones you guys have found useful as well. Now, real quick, before we do that, there's a couple of places that you can, access the menus for all these settings. Okay, the first one is Zoom's website. So you go to the Zoom website, you log in, and you go over here under your personal tab, and you go to settings. Now, here are 3 tabs: meeting, recording, and telephone. All right, so meeting, you're obviously going to find all of your meeting settings, which is a lot of stuff. And these are all the same settings that you're going to find in the program, in the Windows app or the Mac app. The mobile version is a little different if you're on an iPhone or an Android or an iPad. A lot of the settings are going to be stripped down and limited. Some settings you will have access to, but they won't be in the actual Android menu or in the iPhone menu. You have to go to the Zoom website, log in just like we're looking at here, and change the setting there. And that way it'll take place next time you're on your iPhone or whatever. So, look, guys, I'm telling you, it's not that crazy. You start to look at what these settings do, it's not that overwhelming. All right, so what I would recommend, invest a little bit of time, okay, in between classes, whenever you have a few minutes to spare at the end of the day when you're relaxing. All right, well, maybe it's not the most relaxing thing to do. All right. So, but point is, invest a little bit of your time now to get better online classes, better online lessons. That's what the whole podcast is all about. All right. So the hotkeys are one thing. The settings are no different. There's some useful stuff in there. You might not even know is in there. So that's how to access all the settings on the website. But let me actually go through the settings that are in the app itself. And you access that with this cog wheel here. And boom, there we are. General settings. Let's start there. There's a couple of cool things. Start Zoom when I start Windows. I don't like that one because sometimes I'm not using Zoom. I turned it off. When closed, minimize window to the notifications area instead of the taskbar. That's down here, all right? That's the bottom right. So when you close it, it's not actually closed. It's still running in the background. Like you can see this little one way at the bottom there. Guys, every app and program that's running down here is using processing power. If you didn't know that, it's good to know. So if your laptop or your desktop is acting very slow, go check that out. See how many programs are running that you didn't know were running, okay? I don't want Zoom running once I close it. I want it to close. So I turn that option off. Maybe you want that on. That's up to you. Use dual monitors. This is really cool. If you have two monitors set up in front of you, you can automatically have one monitor as the Zoom conference and have the other monitor for all the different things that you're sharing, all the other programs that you're juggling between. I am running two monitors. I have one in front of me that I'm looking at now, and I have my main monitor behind me, but I don't use it the way that they have it set up to use, so I'm not using the dual monitor feature here. Enter full screen automatically when starting or joining a meeting. I like that one. You might not like that one. Automatically copy invite link once the meeting starts. That's kind of cool. That could be useful. I don't want it on, but you might. Always show meeting controls. I like how it automatically hides them myself. Ask me to confirm when I leave a meeting. You know what? I thought I had that. No, I don't want that checked. Yes, I know when I'm leaving a meeting that I want to leave, so I don't want to have to click something else to confirm it. Show my connected time, whatever. You guys can figure out a lot of these settings for yourself. Let me try to just pick out the ones that I really find useful. Cool. Reminder 5 minutes before upcoming meeting start. That's very useful. Okay, and then a few other ones. So that's your general settings. Pretty basic. Let's move on to video settings. Here you can choose your camera. You can choose the aspect ratio or whether it'll run in HD. If your computer's not that powerful, if your internet's not that good, you might not want to run HD. Mirror my video. You can decide whether you need it to be mirrored or not. Touch up my appearance. I guess if you want to, add a little digital makeup, you can do that. Adjust for low light. That's a pretty neat feature built right in. Guys, if you have trouble with lighting, maybe that could be the solution you're looking for. It might use up a little more processing power. And let's see what manual does. Yeah, so you can dial it in manually or have it set to automatic. Really, just probably give yourself better lighting. That's what I would recommend there. Okay, always display participant names on their video. I like that one. I want to see who I'm talking to. Turn off my video when joining a meeting. Nope. When I join a meeting, I want my video to be on. You might want yours off to be safe. That's fine. I can totally see why you might choose this option. I don't want it on myself. Always show video preview dialogue when joining a video meeting. I thought I had that turned off. Anyway, hide non-video participants. That can be useful if you're recording a meeting. I think that's why I have that selected because, sometimes you might want to see that they're there just even if they have their camera turned off, but I just want to hide them and get them out of the way. Spotlight my video when I speak as a host. I believe that's what that option's for. Display up to 49 participants per screen in gallery view. There you go. All right, we have some advanced video settings. Let's take a quick look. Optimize video quality with denoise. Great feature. It's going to use some processing power. You can decide if you want to use it or not. Use hardware acceleration. Depends on your system. For video processing, sending video, receiving video. As far as the rendering method and the post-processing, right now I just have those left to auto. If you guys have a reason that you might want to use that, let me know in the comments. All right, so that's it for the video settings. See, not that bad. Once you start going through them, they're pretty simple. Audio. You already know, as a music teacher, I'm going to have my opinions about the audio settings. Let's get to it. This is where you select your speaker or headphones and your microphone. You can test them, which if I did right now, you would not hear it because my laptop here is just running video. You're not actually hearing the audio. But if you need to test your stuff, that's how you do it, and it'll play a little sound. To test the microphone, you will record a short clip, and then it will play back to you. That's how you do that. All right, for those of you who are doing music lessons or dance classes or anything with music, turn off automatically adjust microphone volume, okay? You don't want it adjusting your volume if you're trying to play a quiet passage and then play with some dynamics, or if you want the song to not be jumping up and down, turn off the automatically adjust microphone volume. And then you can set that yourself right here. You can set your own volume. All right. Suppress background noise. You used to be able to turn that off altogether. As a musician, as a music teacher, I want to turn that off. I don't want it suppressing what it thinks is background noise, because a lot of times it's my instrument. Right? It's when I start playing the drums, it'll mute it. It'll suppress that. There is another way to get to that, and we'll go over that in just a second. So by default, I have it on low because they no longer allow you to turn it off unless you have original sound on, and we'll get to that. Okay, automatically join audio when joining a meeting. So there you go. I want that on. I know that when I join a meeting, I want my microphone on. A lot of times when my students log on, by default, this is off. All right, so when my students log into my meeting, I'm saying hi, and they're looking, wait, how do I turn my sound on? I just want that on for myself. So you may choose to want that off if you join a meeting and you just don't want your microphone on quite yet. You want to choose when you turn it on. That's fine. I could understand why you might want that option. Mute my microphone when joining a meeting. Yep, same thing. I might have had those last two confused then. So automatically join audio by computer, I guess, versus by phone. So if you sometimes connect by phone audio, I'm still not 100% sure on what that does. I think it depends on your web resources. If you join by phone, it might give you less latency. So y'all are going to have to help me out with that one. If any of you understand that setting, let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments. Okay. So mute my microphone when joining a meeting. Right. I don't want that on. I want my microphone on. Boom. You might want yours off. Okay. Do not prompt the join audio dialog when I'm using third-party audio. This has to do with the first option there, join audio by computer versus third-party audio. Okay. Press and hold space to temporarily unmute yourself. Guys, this is awesome. So you learned your hotkeys. You use Alt-A to mute yourself. Now, all you got to do is press spacebar, and it's push to talk. So a lot of times, if I'm like taking a drink of water, or if I'm trying to eat some food real quick because I haven't had a dinner break all night, I'll just mute my mic. And then if I need to say something real quick, hit that spacebar. It's super convenient. I love that they have that on by default. Okay. Advanced audio options. Now, again, if you're a music teacher, if you're doing dance classes or anything where you need music, this is going to be crucial. Echo cancellation can be on auto, that's fine. Now this is the important one. Show in-meeting option to enable original sound from microphone. It's off by default, so you want to turn that on if you're doing something with music. That is where, if you go into a meeting here, let's check it out real quick. Once it loads, you're going to see that at the top left. Boom, turn on original sound. Now you still have to engage it manually every time. You can't see that, can you? I had this in the way the whole time. There it is. All right, so this one up here at the top left, this blue button, turn off original sound. So by default, it's off. Okay, when you join a meeting, it's off like this, and you have to click turn on original sound. That is so it will not mute your audio when it thinks it's background noise. A lot of my students, they're like, I don't see the button for original sound. I know you got to go into the settings to enable the option first before it'll even show you, okay? By the way, the last way of getting into your settings is actually to come in through here. If you need to adjust your audio settings while you're in a meeting, you can come down to this microphone icon, bring up the menu there. Oh boy, my computer is lagging pretty hard. And you can bring up the audio settings right from there. Bada bing. All right, but anyway, let's get back to the audio settings from where we were before. Being very slow right now. Okay. We're in the Advanced tab. Now, when you have original sound running, here are the three other options. You can disable echo cancellation. Yes, I want to do that. Actually, no, echo cancellation is all right. Sorry. Disregard. High fidelity music mode, you want that on, and use stereo audio if you like, if you have enough processing power for it and fast enough internet. That's the other thing. So some of these options will use up a bit more processing power on your computer and maybe a little bit more bandwidth on the internet. So there's all your audio settings. Nothing crazy. All right, screen share settings. I think we went over some of these before right from the screen share menu. So you'll find a lot of these menus or these settings in multiple places. Scale to fit shared content to Zoom window. That's nice. If you have a small window, it'll automatically scale it to fit the participant's monitor. Silence system notifications when sharing desktop. That can be useful. Maybe you don't want your system sounds coming through. You can limit your screen share to frames per second if you're running into issues with video playback. Show green border around the shared content. I like that because then I know if I'm sharing, I can see the window that's being shared. It's surrounded by a green window, a green border, excuse me. Use TCP connection for screen sharing. I'm not sure about that one. That's internet stuff. I'm a little dumb when it comes to internet stuff. When you cannot see the content on shared screen when others cannot see your content on shared screens. I don't know. So I guess if it's not working, you can mess around with that setting. Screen capture mode. I'll leave mine on auto, and that seems to be working pretty well so far. Use hardware acceleration for screen sharing. Yeah, I think that means if you have a good graphics card or maybe it uses your CPU power. But if you got a good system, you probably want that turned on. Annotations on a shared screen or whiteboard. Yep, if you do annotations, you're going to want that checked. All right, that's share screen settings. Moving right along, we have a lot of chat settings. Guys, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't use chat. I'm going to let you go through these settings on your own. I'm sure there's some good stuff in there. Backgrounds and filters, we already talked about those, so you already know what's going on there. Recording settings, pretty straight ahead. You can tell it where to record onto your hard drive. Maybe you have a particular drive in a particular folder. All right, the first setting here, choose a location for recorded files when meeting ends. I have that deselected because I'm telling it where I want to store. So I don't want to choose the location each time the meeting ends. I want it to automatically start rendering. That's what'll happen, by the way. If you render to your local, if you do local video recording, meaning it captures onto your computer, then as soon as your meeting ends, it'll start rendering the file. Okay. Record a separate audio file for each participant who speaks. That's useful if you have a group class and you want to edit the video later and be able to mute and unmute and edit the audio separately. So it'll actually save a few different audio files. Optimize for third-party video editor. Yes, you'll probably want to do that if you plan on editing these later because I think it gives you a little more control over the video parameters. Add a timestamp to the recording. Yeah, whatever. Pretty self-explanatory. Record video during screen sharing. Yes, I believe you would probably want to do that, but you can turn that off. Okay, and then here's your cloud recording. It'll tell you how much you're using if you have the paid version. I have just a basic paid plan, so it only gives me a gig, which fills up super fast, by the way. Video files are huge. And so I've already used up. So I'm going to have to go on there and download the recordings and then clear up all that space again. You can buy more space online. It's just going to cost you a higher monthly subscription. Your profile settings. If you're a teacher, you probably want to have a nice picture on there. I've got my classic hair flip, which I use on all my platforms. And you can go through your profile and adjust your settings there. Statistics, I'm not really sure what's in there. You can leave feedback for Zoom. You can go through all your keyboard shortcuts. Now, this is interesting. I've never even seen this. This is awesome. Enable global shortcut. Okay, guys, if you're in a different window, but you still want that shortcut to work while Zoom's running, but it's not the highlighted window, it's not the active window on your computer, that's what global shortcuts are for. So you can set these to be global or not. Sometimes those shortcuts may interfere with the other programs that you're using, so you'll just have to play around with that, but that can be very helpful. What else do we have? Yeah, so it looks like you can actually change these keyboard shortcuts or these hotkeys. I should have mentioned that earlier. I didn't even know it was a thing. So you can change them and customize them to however you like. If you would prefer Alt-M be mute yourself, you can do that. And then Alt-A would mute everyone else. That actually makes more sense. Mute all, Alt-A, versus mute yourself. I think I might change that. But then if I'm using someone else's computer or whatever, then maybe I'll leave it how it is because I've already learned it. Anyway, this is super useful. You can change the actual keyboard shortcuts and hotkeys. All right, so that's pretty much it for settings. I didn't go through every single setting, but we covered a lot of the useful ones. If there's any settings that I didn't mention that you use, please let me know in the chat or in the comments. Guys, if you're here, give this video a like. Please help other people find it. Share it if you know anyone that would find this video useful. And all that stuff helps to get the video in front of other eyes who might find it useful. So your help there is much appreciated. You got to work the algorithms, guys, the YouTube algorithms. Okay, I've covered most of the things I want to cover today. Last topic I'm going to talk about real quick are some of these other tabs. I never do use chat, but that's kind of neat. I don't use contacts. Do you guys use contacts in Zoom? So I guess if you have a lot of contacts, you can chat with them. That could be helpful outside of meetings. But I haven't done that myself so far. Here's your meetings tab, all your personal meetings that you've scheduled. I even schedule I call it a Zoom lessons test, which lets me, if I just want to hop into a meeting and test some things out real quick. The reason I do that and I don't just use a new meeting every time, you're like, why don't you just start a new meeting to test something out? You can do that. But a lot of times I also want to log in on my phone and use my phone and my computer simultaneously. And so, why did I even start a meeting just now? Oh, I think I was demonstrating something. And so, yes, I actually have scheduled a recurring meeting that I can use anytime I want to test something out, which is pretty frequently. And then I can log on my computer, and I can go to my phone meetings and find it and just log on there as well. It's very, very helpful. Okay, scheduling. So here you see start new meeting. You can do that, and then you can just copy the invite link and send that with an email. It's very easy to do. You can join a meeting. What does that do? Oh, this is if you have the meeting ID and password. But typically, whenever I join someone else's meeting, they've sent me a link that I can just click on, and it automatically starts the meeting. It automatically enters the meeting ID and password. So that's the easiest way to do it, although you can join manually like that. Share screen. Why would I share screen right from the main menu here? I'm kind of just playing around with this. I've never clicked on this. So sometimes you just got to play around with this stuff to figure out what it does. And again, fear of the unknown. If you're just starting online lessons or if you're just doing online classes now and you're kind of intimidated by Zoom, trust me, get on there and play around with it. It's worth the time invested up front to feel more comfortable when you actually go to start your class. Enter sharing key or meeting ID. I'm going to have to play around with this. Like, why would you share screen when you're not even in a meeting? So I'm sure there's something to that. I don't know what it is. Maybe y'all can help me out in the comments. But here's the last thing I really wanted to cover today, which is when you go to schedule a meeting. It's really cool. There's a lot of customization that you can do here. You name the meeting, student's name or the class name or whatever that is. You can set the exact date and time. You can even set the duration, which I don't think it kicks you out after an hour or whatever you set it to. I think it just gives the participant that you're sending this to an idea of how long the meeting's going to be. You can set it as a recurring meeting, so it's the same link every time. I do this with all my private drum students. So every week they click on the same link and boom, our meeting starts. You can set the time zone. Meeting ID, generate automatically or use your personal meeting ID. I like to just generate a new meeting ID automatically. I forget what it was about the personal meeting ID that I didn't like. I think I read somewhere that it's like if someone has a personal meeting ID, they can just join your meeting anytime. And I didn't want, like if I was in a lesson with one student, I didn't want another student joining that meeting using the personal meeting ID. If I've misunderstood that, please let me know in the chat. But to the best of my knowledge, I think that's why it is. So I generate a new meeting ID every time. Here's your password. It generates one automatically, although you can come up with your own if you like. And I think passwords are required nowadays as part of an added security feature. Waiting room. I like the waiting room. I want my student to be able to just hang out before I actually switch over and log into the meeting. Helps things run smoothly. Host video on, participant video on. By default, as soon as the meeting starts, both of our videos are on. That's useful for me because I teach one-on-one private lessons. I know I'm going to want my camera and their camera on. I know I'm going to want my microphone and their microphone on. Now, the student can still decide that they want to join the meeting with their microphone off because that's in their personal settings. And, of course, that would override the meeting settings here. But if they have their microphone automatically on and the meeting setting has it automatically on, then it will be automatically on. So that's useful for me. However, if you have a giant class of students, then you might want everybody's mic muted right off the jump. All right, here we have audio. I'm still a little fuzzy on this, guys. Telephone versus computer and telephone versus third party. I think it has something to do with internet latency, so you might be able to use a different type of audio depending on where you are and what your situation is. But again, maybe y'all can help me in the comments to clear that up. Calendar. I don't really use calendars. I set my own. I'm in control of my own Google Calendar. Although I'll probably start switching to use Google Calendar from my scheduled meetings. That way it automatically ties in with my Google Calendar. So I think I will do that eventually. I just haven't looked into it yet. Advanced options. Enable join before host. Yeah, I want my students to be able to go ahead and join before me. Although I thought that was the waiting room, so I don't quite understand the difference there. Maybe you guys can help me out. Mute participants upon entry. No, I don't want that. You might want that. Only authenticated users can join. I think that means you have to be like logged in. Automatically record a meeting. I can see where that would be useful. I don't want to automatically record my meeting. And then once you click save, it will generate that meeting. It will give you all the information that you need to send to the other participants. Oh, right now it's asking me to sign in with Google because I've selected Google Calendar. So that's it, guys. Scheduling meetings is super easy. Oh, one more thing I wanted to show you. Let's say you're in a meeting. All right, I'm going to go ahead and join that Zoom lessons test meeting I was telling you about. You're in the meeting, and the student, oh, no, they lost the link or they don't have it, and you need to send it to them real quick. All right, if you go up to this green shield icon, top left, there's all the details from the meeting that you're in. It has the ID, the host, the password, and the invite link. And this is really cool. You click copy link, boom, now it's copied to your computer clipboard. So when you go into so all you do is open up your email client, copy or paste that link right in there that you've already copied to your clipboard and send it. So if the student loses the link, you could have a new one on the way to them in less than a minute. Very useful right there. Sometimes, I'm not going to lie to you guys, I'll be logged in like, where's my student? I don't see him yet. It's a few minutes past. And I'm like, oh, maybe I clicked on the wrong lesson, you know? So I come up here. It reminds me, note you are in this particular meeting. And sometimes I found that I was in the wrong lesson, so it's very helpful to have that right there. And then, of course, turn on original sound. I can't stress this one enough for if you're doing music. All right. So I think that just about covers it, guys. Those are most of the Zoom features and settings that I prefer, that I found useful. Let me know which ones you guys like. Join me next week. We're going to talk about more online lesson topics. So I hope this has been helpful. Thanks for joining me in the chat. Thanks for watching this later if that's how you're watching. And have a great week. I'll see you next Sunday, 7 o'clock, same spot, for better online lessons. All right, guys. Have a good one. Bye.